Hello and welcome to another episode of A Weekly Waypoint. Today we are back in Los Santos. I know last week we returned to Liberty City to take our taxi, job over there, but I missed Los Santos, so we're back here now. It's funny, isn't it? You leave for like a week and you come back and you see the city through brand new eyes. Suddenly everything looks different. The streets look like they lead to different places. It feels like there's just more things going on in the world. The city seems bigger and more alive than ever before. And most of all, whatever weather was causing that constant orange haze seems to have dissipated, and now we've just got nice realistic looking smog instead. Of course, I'm continuing to exercise my right as a free, law-abiding citizen to earn my wage in whatever way I deem fit. The authorities may come sniffing, but all they're gonna find is a hard-working cab driver, one who gets his well-paying customers to their destinations at the utmost of speed and efficiency and delivers service with a squelch. Now we'll talk about GTA 5 as a video game here in a little bit, but one thing I do want to mention before we go too much further is that this is episode 350 of the Weekly Waypoint. That feels like some kind of milestone. I mean, okay, I know that the 50 milestones get a little bit less real when you get past 250, but still. 350 episodes without missing a week, I think, is something to be, to pat myself on the back about. When I started this video series, I set out to create something which would help me stick to a weekly schedule for a creative project, and prove to myself that I can handle both deadlines and longevity, and I mean, I think I accomplished this long ago, but I still enjoy making this every week. And honestly, I think it's because I have made it such a flexible series, such like a dynamic thing, where I can spend a month worth of episodes exploring the different taxi missions in the different GTA games and see the GTA games evolve alongside them. I can spend a few months just checking out every single Wipeout game in order and seeing the series evolve, or, away from series evolutions, I can just spend months playing like Halo if I feel like it. The core of this show is me showing up every week to talk to you about video games that I've been playing and other media that I've been consuming, and just general things that are on my mind for this week, alongside gameplay footage of whatever game I feel like playing and showing to you that week, often talking about said game. I didn't plan for these GTA weekly waypoints to kind of be a countdown to 350 because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not really expecting GTA 6 to drop next week. If it does, if they shadow drop GTA 6 next week, you can thank me for it. But if I'm being honest, I don't want to finish up this experience just yet. I want to see if I can find some way to revisit GTA 1 and 2, because I did play those games as a kid as well, and I think it could be really interesting to go from the end of a series all the way back to the beginning, and see just how much of a leap backwards it is. Can you leap backwards? I guess you'd have to have some amazing skill and agility to do so, and I am but a humble taxi driver. But I've also got some other fun ideas of things we can do adjacent to this, but I don't want to give them away just yet, especially since I might get bored of doing this and stop anyway. But yeah, it was really interesting to check out GTA 5 again, because I have played a bunch of GTA 5 in my life, but not for a very long time. I've only got 17 hours on the Steam version, and I think that's probably because back in the day my PC could barely run this game. But before I ever owned it on PC, I did own a PlayStation 3 version of the game, and that's something to think about. How wild is it that this game existed on PlayStation 3? I don't remember how it ran, but if I remember right, it looked pretty damn good. I remember being like, what wizardry did Rockstar pull off to make a PS3 game look this good? It looked like a PS4 game before the PS4 existed. I think GTA 5 was one of the best looking games for a very long time, and I couldn't imagine it aging. But playing it now, I do think that I can see some room for improvement. Of course, it still looks fantastic, and especially with like some of the evening lighting, sometimes it looks gorgeous. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see GTA 6 gameplay when it does come out, to see if they're able to push the bar again, especially since, you know, the standard of graphics has definitely plateaued in the last decade or so. There's only so realistic you can make a game look. But yeah, honestly, last time I touched this game, I want to say 2018 at the latest. I did play a bunch of GTA Online for a while, because like I said in the previous videos, I was obsessed with the idea of multiplayer GTA, and that's what the whole GTA Online thing was selling you. But I did quite quickly fall out of love with the pay-to-win feel of it, in terms of like, you can grind like online races or online PvP and stuff for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, or you can just buy a shark card to get what you want. And I think GTA Online is definitely as well an online game which is better played with people you know. And while I did have the benefit of people I know playing this game, and I did have some hilarious gaming sessions with them in this game as well, yeah, I mean, like, we go off and play different games after a while, and usually we aren't playing GTA 5 at the same time as each other. We never synced up again, I guess is what I'm saying. Most of my game time solo in GTA Online would probably have just been me playing the cunning stunts races. Also, people always wanted to do the heists. I never gave a shit about the heists. I was not a heisty type gamer. But yeah, coming back to this game in 2024, after having not played it for a very long time, and after having just played a whole bunch of GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and 4 in that order, it was interesting. Ultimately, I think I do still have too much familiarity with this game for the kind of next-gen evolution to punch me in the face quite as much as GTA 4's did. I mean, when you think about it, and this is also wild to think about, but GTA 4 and GTA 5 were both PlayStation 3 games. So technically it was not a next-gen leap, though it has of course received many updates over the years. But yeah, if you caught last week's video, you'll remember me saying, you know, because I hadn't really played GTA 4, the step up from San Andreas felt insane. Not so much with GTA 5 from GTA 4, although there is still obviously a marked step up in like graphics, in like the size of the world, in like the vibrancy of the simulation of life and stuff. Something that the PS4 generational update brought to this game, by the way, was the first person mode, and we'll be seeing that in a little bit. I'm not sure I've ever personally played with a first person mode myself, and it makes the game a bit more difficult, we'll put it that way. But yeah, overall, playing this game again was like riding an old bike. There's certainly some things I'd forgotten about it, but for the most part I've spent a decent amount of time in this world already, although I've never finished the story for this game and I do kind of want to. I guess it's worth noting that yeah, the most amount of time I've spent in this game has been GTA Online. I don't think that's going to be an uncommon occurrence. GTA Online is so prevalent and so popular that sometimes it's easy to forget that GTA 5 is a mainline single-player GTA game in its own right. But enough, I hear you cry, enough about Grand Theft Auto 5. What video games have you been playing this week? To which I answer, that's enough prying, mind your own business. Well, partially it's a continuation of last week because I have been playing more Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered and more Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. I must admit I've been playing a little bit more Spider-Man than I have Ghost of Tsushima, which, you know, I kind of thought that would be the other way around. Don't get me wrong, I am greatly enjoying Ghost of Tsushima, and it does remain as one of my active games, which I'm like, oh, what do I want to play? I'll boot up Ghost of Tsushima, or Spider-Man, etc, etc, etc. I think maybe when I get a little bit further through and the main story plot gets its hooks in me a little bit more, maybe I'll be playing it a little bit more actively. But I've kind of just been chilling. I've kind of just been doing side missions as I come across them. I've been wandering throughout the open world, not using my horse to travel a lot of the time, but literally just having a bit of a stroll. And it's been delightful, but the one I have been spending a little bit more time on is Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. As I've mentioned before, it is a replay, obviously not of this version of the game, but of the game in general. I completed Act 1 a couple days ago, and I won't lie, it's kind of come to a halt because of an MJ stealth section. 2019 me would be frustrated to hear those words come out of 2025 me's mouth, because I used to get annoyed hearing about people complain about the MJ stealth sections, because they're really not that bad or that long. But I don't know, I was like, I just kind of want to open the game and swing around in the city, and I'm in the middle of an MJ stealth section and I can't be bothered to finish it. It's the one where she's in, I think it's Tombstone's garage or whatever, garage, however you want to say it. If I just force my way through that, then I'm sure I'll be back to playing it, no problem. But I did also manage to pick up Spider-Man Miles Morales before it went off sale for 20 quid, which was nice. And I'm excited to play that because I have not touched that game yet. And Spider-Man 2 comes out at the end of this month, so I don't know if I'm going to be caught up in time for the release of Spider-Man 2, but honestly, it's not really that important to me whether I play it as soon as it releases. It's just kind of like, you know, it's cool that I've got more Spider-Man to play. I'm currently in the middle of reading through Superior Spider-Man, more on that later, as well as keeping up with the monthly releases of Ultimate Spider-Man at the minute, so there's a lot of Spider-Man in my life, I've got to say. But we did have another video game enter the rotation this week, and that was Final Fantasy XIV. On January 1st, 2025, I decided the first thing I would do this year was resubscribe to Final Fantasy XIV, because I started as I meant to go on, damn it. And as always, no, I'm not going to talk about any story spoilers here, so don't worry. You can stick around while I have a little bit of a talk about it. I dropped Dawn Trail pretty quickly after I finished the 7.0 MSQ, not because I didn't like it, I actually liked it a lot. My fixation with the game ran out around the time that the main story ended. I wasn't really interested in doing endgame at that particular moment, so I've just now resubscribed and we are, 2-3 months into 7.1, so I've got a little bit of catching up to do. That being said, I haven't touched for 7.1 MSQ yet, and that's a funny thing because I've done this in the past as well. I've resubscribed to Final Fantasy XIV, not to play the MSQ despite loving the MSQ so much and it being the highlight of the game for me, but because I just kind of want to chill out in that world, and I want to level alt jobs or alt characters and replay the MSQ through them, or I want to, do like reputations and stuff like that. I think it's so interesting that the thing that I like about that game above anything else is the main scenario questline, but the thing that drives me back to it after time away isn't the main scenario questline, it's everything else about the game. So if all you've heard about Final Fantasy XIV is how incredible of a JRPG story it is, first of all, correct, but second of all, that's not all. There is so much else about that MMO which is legitimately fantastic. Something I'm finding as I replay it again this time, I've just missed playing it. I've just missed doing the Dragoon rotation, the Reaper rotation, the Samurai rotation. Yes, I'm a Maim Lord. In my defense, I also have Red Mage level to 90 by the end of Endwalker, okay? Don't at me. But the game is just so downright fun to play. Last time I was playing, I was leveling all of my alt jobs to like a minimum level threshold. So I reached a minimum level threshold of 30, which meant that all of the game's classes were at least level 30 or were yet to be unlocked level 30 beginner jobs. Jobs, classes, you know what I mean. The term can kind of be used interchangeably, let's not get precious about it. But yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it last week, I think I did, but I was gifted Final Fantasy XI, which was the original Final Fantasy MMO, and has, as such, aged interestingly in terms of just basic approachability. But I did spend a few hours messing around in Final Fantasy XI, and it is the main thing that made me go, I just kind of want to play 14 again. I will continue to try 11, either potentially while I've got my 3-month trial or at another date, but right now I'm in 14 town, and that town is named Redacted. But yeah, as I mentioned, I have yet to do the 7.1 MSQ. It's pretty much the only 7.1 thing I haven't done yet, apart from like the high-end raiding, which I never do anyway. But I did get caught up not just on the 7.1 Alliance raid, which is a Final Fantasy XI crossover, but also with a 7.0 normal raid, which I was never very interested in the premise of, but actually ended up enjoying quite a good deal. As for that 7.1 Alliance raid for like the Final Fantasy XI crossover, I was kind of hoping it would be more of like an introduction to 11 for 14 players, but unfortunately it does just seem more like fan service for 11 players, and I don't know if it really fits in that well with the story. I've heard so much about how surprisingly well they fit in the crossover raid stuff with Nier Automata, and like the trial stuff with like Monster Hunter, how well they made that fit into the lore in a weird way. I don't know, I haven't done those, so I don't know how well this holds up, but I don't know if I agree that that's the case of Final Fantasy XI. They've definitely attempted to, but I'm just like, it just feels a little, I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it. It feels more like they've made the idea fit the game than the game fit the idea, if you know what I mean. And I'm supposed to be being like, wow, I'm in this area, that's so cool that I'm in this area from another game, and instead I'm going, wait, is this part of 11 or is this a 14 quirk or what? I don't understand yet. The actual raid itself is pretty fun though. I particularly enjoyed the large dragon fight because I feel like it's not very often that you just get to fight a giant fuck-off giant dragon. Happens all the time in World of Warcraft, but I feel like Final Fantasy XIV tries to be a little bit more highbrow about that stuff. I should also mention, by the way, looking at this Final Fantasy XI crossover raid series, it did make me think about like a really silly idea that's never going to happen, but I thought about it too much and now I really want it to happen. I really want, and actually do believe that it would be a great idea. I want a crossover between Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. Hear me out. First of all, I think the reason why it could happen, I don't think it will, but the reason why it could be a feasible thing that might happen one day is because the sheer audacity of it would bring so much attention, so much, I guess, PR to both World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV in a positive manner. It would be a cool thing for them both to do. They already share a large Venn diagram of players, like, you know, the big exodus to Final Fantasy XIV from World of Warcraft, a lot of those players came back to World of Warcraft and play both of them now. And so I think there are a lot of players who would be interested in seeing, like, how would Final Fantasy XIV tackle the Arthas fight, the Lich King fight at the end of Icecrown Citadel if they turned that into a fight in Final Fantasy XIV. And likewise, how would... I mean, WoW has done less crossover stuff. I don't think it's really done any crossover stuff, so maybe that's not so suitable for WoW, but if they did, what would, like, artifact armor sets look like in World of Warcraft, you know? What would suit what? Obviously, you've got, like, Dark Knight to Death Knight, you've got Black Mage to Warlock, that kind of thing. But, you know, Reaper to Demon Hunter, or would it be Viper to Demon Hunter, or would it be Viper to Rogue, you know? It would be a lot of interesting things to figure out, but I think it could be really cool. I think it would be the MMO crossover event of the century, and it would be audacious and also would just be like a really interesting study in game design. And I know Yoshi P has a lot of respect for World of Warcraft, and I don't know, I feel like it's something Blizzard could get behind, maybe, if they really are a modern, evolved Blizzard who are past their egos like they were back in the day. It's never gonna happen, but I just think it could be cool, and I've thought about it too much and now I want it. Let me know if you think that's a stupid idea, a crazy idea, or a good idea, or all three. I think it's all three. Anyway, in other news, what have I been watching, what have I been reading, what media have I been consuming outside of interactive entertainment? I am currently reading The Lesser Devil, which is the first novella in the Sun Eater series before I move on to, well, I was going to say book 3, but there's also a second novella before then, so I might do that instead. I also kind of started reading The Two Towers again. I never really stopped, but I kind of paused without meaning to. So I was listening to that while walking to work, and I gotta say, chapter 3 of The Two Towers, as read by Andy Serkis, where they have a lot of interactions between the hobbits and the orcs, an absolute treat because of that man's voice and how he does orcs. You know how the orcs sound in Shadow of Mordor? I don't know if that's Andy Serkis, but it sounds a lot like those. And the amount of variation he's able to put into the different orcs' voices is very entertaining, while also lending to the immersion of the storytelling in question. As I just mentioned, I am now up to the Superior Spider-Man age in the Spider-Man comics I've been reading. I am so close to being able to read the 2014 run of Spider-Man 2099 and have it make sense within the continuity of what I'm reading. It's also come to my attention that there's like a Scarlet Spider comic run from around that time. I've just got to the point where that crosses over with Superior Spider-Man, and it's like, oh, okay, I might just go and read that series as a whole, because I like me some Scarlet Spider. But yeah, so far, Superior Spider-Man is really cool. For anyone who doesn't know the premise, Dr. Octopus as Spider-Man, he took over Peter Parker's mind, and is now him. Peter Parker's dead, and that's the premise. It's really interesting so far. As for what I've been watching, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. You probably weren't expecting those words, were you? I recently discovered that on BBC iPlayer, of all places, there's pretty much all of Pokemon from Diamond and Pearl up to early Sun and Moon. And I've never really gotten into the Pokemon anime, and it is definitely aimed at kids, which is one barrier to entry. So like, I've tried Indigo League, but it's so like insubstantial in terms of plot that I find it a bit difficult. Diamond and Pearl has a little bit more of an overarching plot, so it is a little bit more interesting, but I still doubt I'm gonna finish it. According to iPlayer, they only have the license for like another 12 days anyway. I don't know if that gets renewed, but it's something I've been wanting to check out for a while, and I did. Also, The Traitors, the only reality TV show I will ever watch, has returned and is fantastic as always. I don't know if I talked about it on the Weekly Waypoint last time, but sometime last year I discovered that The Traitors was a thing midway through Season 2, and I binged all of Season 1, and I caught up on Season 2, and then I watched the end of Season 2 as it came out, and I had a wonderful time. Also, relevantly to this channel, I've got back on the classic Doctor Who train, which means on Wednesday there will be a new Thoughts on Classic Doctor Who. It will be me watching the final Season 3 story, The War Machines, so keep an eye out for that, and I intend to carry on that train. Now that we're near the start of Patrick Troughton's era, it has kind of rekindled my curiosity for Classic Who. The thing that lit a fire up my butt is that they did a colorized re-edit of the second Doctor's final story, and they apparently added a regeneration scene and some other fun things for the modern Who audience. And apparently that's only sticking around for a year, because when they did that for the Daleks last year, that only stuck around for a year, and it is no longer available, which I think is the most imbecilic decision ever made. But it does now mean I want to make sure I get through Troughton's era so I can watch that before it leaves iPlayer. Well, I actually managed to do that, considering it took me 3 years to get through Hartnell's era. Probably not, but I think if I reach the end of that time limit and I haven't watched it yet, I will just watch it out of order. My main thing is I just didn't want it to be the first second Doctor story I ever watched, his last episode. Honestly, I think my classic Doctor Who watch through will probably pick up a lot of steam when we reach the Pertwee era. But anyway, thank you very much for tuning in this week. I hope you've had a lovely day, or will continue to have one, and I will catch you in the next episode.